for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
I do this for the kids who sit a bit outside the mix, who maybe cope through humor just to fit in for a bit, who never let the world know when depression's setting in. To all of those who know you, that impression don't exist, and it ain't counterfeit, it's just a way to counter it. I'm living things I dreamed about, I still encounter it. It ain't something that a cigarette or alcohol can fix, but all because of it, I flipped it quick, went on to write some hits. This a success, off another breath. This the first step in searching to be nothing less than be the best in what you do to prove their strength in being you. Learn so much in chasing dreams that I never would in school. Depends on where your passion lie, just no passion never lie. Life presents distractions, but your actions have to fortify. The things that you believe in have to scream it like a battle cry, and leave the ones who didn't looking stupid while they're asking why. Couldn't lie, I really do this for the ones I love. Those who treat the music as a vice and lyrics like a drug. Those who need advice on how to lift their spirit high enough to break out of the box they make of lives they know aren't good enough. Just because it's how it is don't mean it's how it has to be. This is what the uninspired testifiers fail to see. Jealousy results from being that which others fail to be, and if it means you're not with me, that honestly sounds fair to me.
I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean, no longer a fiend. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
Do this for my mother, she'll be working for the summer. Do this for my father, cause these days I often wonder what my life would have been like if I was not adopted. To grow up in a home where I was treated like a problem. I don't know, it's just a guess. Your guess probably good as mine. Lucky that I grew up in a home that wanted me to shine. Lucky that I grew up around some mountains we were taught to climb. Without that inspiration, I don't think that this would be my life. Do this for my friends who've scattered all across the country now. I'm out in Sweden walking back through life so I can write it down. Make a living off the sound, so crazy to say out loud. I'm the biggest thing since Travis Rice to come up out the town. Sorry, gotta stunt a little. Used to have my dreams belittled, but it's all a part of it. I know people's minds are fickle, lines between reality and dreams I blur like faded nights. Come up been so good for me, I wish that I could make it twice.
I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean, no longer a fiend. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
Oh yeah, shout out to my pops, man. I do this for you. Good morning, y'all. It is Thursday. Happy Thursday. What do they call it? Thirsty Thursday? I'm sitting here thirsty as a motherfucker. No, I'm just playing. I want to let you guys know, just a reminder before I get started on the show, I will not be doing a live stream tonight for tonight's games. So if you want to watch tonight's games, you're going to watch them by yourself. I apologize. Shout out to all the MVPs who hang out with us every night. You know, last night we had a great show. We had a lot of people in there. We went 1 for 1 on the MVPs last night, or 1 for 2, I should say. We went 1-1. We got the New Mexico State game right, and unfortunately for us, UTEP showed up last night, and their quarterback is terrible. But for one quarter, he played out of his mind, threw for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, something he's never done in his life at any level. He's never done that in youth football, never did that in high school, and somehow, some way, he did it on the biggest stage when all the MVPs were watching, and it's unfortunate. But that's the life of capping and gambling, and we're okay because we still hit on the evening's game. We saw New Mexico State dominate Sam Houston State, knew that was going to happen, called it, feel good about it. Now, that being said, we do have 2 games tonight. I'll get into them, and then I'll get into the rest of the schedule. Today is SEC Thursday, so if you have any questions, make sure they're SEC related or Sunbelt related. Sunbelt questions are welcome as well. I understand it's a morning show. Nobody knew I was doing this show. So the chances of me having any questions at all are pretty slim to none. And that's okay because we'll just talk. We'll get the show done and keep it moving. I do have some data I need to make for the MVPs today about tonight's games. I have at least 2 videos I need to make giving them my picks, my props, my assessment of what's going down, and how I assess these teams. And obviously, unfortunately for everybody else, if you're not an MVP, I don't share that with you. It's just the reality of the situation. Shout out to all the MVPs. Now, Rico knows, Rico knows, Rico knows. Good morning. First thing I want to talk about is Miles Bridges here. Miles Bridges is just a guy making a lot of poor decisions. If you guys don't know, Miles Bridges is only 25 years old. He plays basketball for the Charlotte Hornets. And Miles Bridges, they're saying it's a criminal summons. They're not calling it an arrest warrant. I don't know why people get preferential treatment over others outside of money, right? I guess I do know why, right? It's money. But this young man, did some horrific things. He pleaded no contest to a domestic violence issue he had. When did it happen? It happened in May of 2022. Yeah, he beat his then girlfriend, and I think he abused the kids as well. I want to tell you he was charged with child abuse and domestic violence. They gave him a 10-year protective order, you guys. 10-year protective order. You can't go near this woman for 10 years. Well, that didn't last. Couldn't be within her for 100 yards and had no contact with the woman. He already broke this. Right? He was required to go to 52 weeks of domestic violence counseling, 52 weeks of parenting class, and serve 100 hours of community service. None of this is changing his decision-making. Let's make this clear. Undergo weekly narcotics testing, can't own a gun, ammunition, or weapons. None of this is changing his conduct. He got 30-game suspension without pay from the NBA. That's a significant fine. They gave him he was going to miss 10 games this year, the first 10 games of the season, and he's already missing the entire preseason. But this man violates it. Violates it again. He violates this protective order. And all I got to say is like it's a felony domestic violence charge, bro. All you got to do is stay away from this one woman. 8 billion people in the world. How many are women? Now, how many are in your demographic that you appreciate? Like, go pick one. Stop beating the same one. Go get somebody new. I'm not saying he's going to treat you good, but leave that woman alone. This man belongs in jail. You were given a protective order and you broke it. I don't give a shit what the excuse was. Oh, we were arguing about custody of the kids. We were arguing about this and that. Look, man, I've been in arguments with my ex-wives before. My ex-wife, the mother of my children, I've argued with her for years upon years about anything and everything. Guess what, though? There was no protective order because I never once laid my hands on a woman. But there are moments in time where we look at each other and go, you know what? We need to clear the air, bro. We need to step back. We're not talking. We need to just breathe a little bit. This is not happening. You feel me? This guy should have forgot this girl's name and number and moved on with his life. Move on with your life, dude. You're free. But he can't get out of it. And then people want to go, well, it's a toxic relationship. No. It's him. 10-year protective order. You ever heard of that? I heard restraining order, protective order, 90 days, 60 days, 6 months, a whole year maybe. 10 years, you must have really beat her ass. You must have really done it. Absolutely gross. Disgusting. There's really nothing else that I want to talk about because I'm going to make videos on them individually for YouTube and TikTok throughout the day. So let's just go straight to the games. Tonight's games, West Virginia at Houston. West Virginia and Neil Brown are having a great season. They've been proving all the haters wrong. Is Neil Brown on the hot seat? I don't think so. Not the way he's been winning. And at the flip side, man, Dana Holgorsen, you got to be on the hot seat, bro. Houston has not been getting it done. They've been losing games that they were supposed to either win or be competitive in, and they find a way to lose. Donovan Smith, the transfer quarterback, looks great. He's getting his numbers. They have a new offensive coordinator they haven't quite gelled with. They discovered a new freshman running back. He's kind of taken over in the running back room. That's great and everything, but they need to win. I love some of their defensive players. There's Adari Halsey in the secondary. He's a transfer from New Mexico. Love the kid coming back home and playing great. Houston needs to find a way to win. So tonight we got two teams that need to win, find a way to win. We'll see what happens. SMU at East Carolina. SMU looks like a resurgence type team. They look great. They've really improved. They got a lot of depth. They used the transfer portal to just address all their needs. Shout out to Rhett Lashley, former offensive coordinator from Miami. He just started recruiting the hell out of Miami. Just got to SMU. He hired defensive coordinator Scott, I think it's Simons. He's the defensive coordinator now for SMU, former defensive backs coach at East Carolina. No, Liberty. Sorry about that. Former coach from Liberty, moved over, got out from underneath Hugh Freeze. Now he's the defensive coordinator for SMU. So SMU's got a lot of things going. SMU looks good. They're on this trajectory to go way, way north, and, they just joined the ACC. On the flip side, East Carolina, they've got nothing this year. They're trying. They've got nothing. They lost their starting quarterback, running back, 2 wide receivers, a bunch of leaders on defense. They lost everybody to the transfer portal, to the NFL, to graduation. It's unfortunate. So they're having to rebuild and restock. They had Mason Garcia at quarterback. He started coming into his own. Now he's injured. He's not playing this game. The kid Flynn that comes in after him, not good. Probably one of the worst quarterbacks in all of FCS. If you don't think I'm telling the truth, he's got 1 touchdown this year, 5 interceptions. So East Carolina looks bad. And those are the 2 games tonight. Excuse me for a second. I'm getting so many calls, and it's absurd how many calls I'm getting. It's really, really annoying. All right, so now let's go to the Sunbelt. Sunbelt, we already saw Coastal Carolina and App State. Highly disappointed in App State. They were supposed to go out there and just run the ball. Didn't have Nate Noel. Tried to make it competitive. And then even at the last second, they had a chance to win this game. They had a 50-yard gain, and they fumbled it. Just terrible. And on the flip side, Coastal Carolina playing inspired football. Getting a win. Grayson McCall throwing for 373. Just an absurd, gaudy numbers type game. Everybody was open. App State looked like they didn't know how to play defense. It's just embarrassing. Look at the matchups on Saturday, bro. Georgia Southern at JMU, at James Madison. James Madison is undefeated, has looked like a world beater, looks like a good team. Georgia Southern is not a bad team. Georgia Southern is one of the nation's leading passers, passing offenses. Everything they're doing under Clay Helton, I'm impressed with it. Clay Helton should have an FBS level job. A Power 5 level job. Clay Helton is doing it right. I know he was overwhelmed at USC, didn't quite live up to it, but he knows offense. He knows what he's doing. Davis Brin, their starting quarterback, the transfer from Tulsa, really showing out. Look at Omari Arnold. I've been talking about O.J. Arnold for a while now. This is a kid that went to Brooks County High School, won a couple state titles, or at least one. He lost in the other state title game. Hood, their leading receiver from last year, back. Everything Georgia Southern is doing, it has them poised in this game, and that's why you see it so close to 50%. Okay? It's going to be a difficult game for JMU. They got JMU -6. They got the over-under at 58.5. That's assuming they're both going to be able to score on each other. JMU is dominant, beating a good South Alabama team. That's impressive. Beating Southern Utah, that's impressive, but don't allow that many points, right? Beating Troy in a slugfest, impressive. Beating Virginia, I'm not that impressed, but they got it done. And then Bucknell, who cares, right? You look on the other side. Georgia Southern, outscoring UAB by a ton, being competitive with Wisconsin for a half, dominating Ball State, and beating that Coastal Carolina team we just saw beat App State. So these guys can score 38, 40, 14, 49, 34. They can score. They got a great passing attack. You see it here. They're averaging 471 yards a game. Obviously, an easier schedule. This is much more difficult schedule here. Just so if we're comparing the two, Troy and South Alabama, 2 very good teams on this schedule over here. But nonetheless, 471 yards, 337 yards passing. These guys throw it everywhere. So there'll be some airing it out. This game is interesting. I don't know who's winning the game. I'm just very intrigued by both teams. I like what I see. Troy and Army, that's an MVP game. Marshall at Georgia State. What another week for Marshall, man. They get no breaks. Marshall, their first loss of the season last week against North Carolina State. What I'll tell you is Georgia State is very similar to North Carolina State without the stingy defense. But the offense led by a very athletic quarterback who can move the ball and do things. Darren Granger's there. Georgia State's having one of their all-time best seasons at this point. When you look at Georgia State, Carroll can really run the ball. This is one of the most dominant running backs, and Rasheen Ali is the most dominant running back. These are two great running backs, but Darren Granger's that guy, the X factor here, that can really cause problems for Marshall. I really like this matchup. This game look at this, 50-50. And you got both teams 4-1. It's impressive. Both teams coming off of a loss and getting, dominated by Troy didn't help, but they've been looking decent enough to score points. They just couldn't stop Troy. And I don't know how you stop Marshall. Marshall's built similar to Troy. They really are. Run-heavy offense, punch you in the mouth, and then good defense. Now, Marshall, on the other hand, they're putting up big points. Look what they did to terrible ECU, even with a better quarterback. Remember, I told you they're going to have a terrible quarterback this week. Beating Virginia Tech, beating ODU. I can see Marshall winning this game. And Georgia State kind of come crashing back down to reality. And then the flip side, this Georgia State offense might be able to put up another 40 points on these dudes. These guys give up 35 to ODU. Let me tell you, Georgia State's better than ODU. They're better than 35. This could be a total shootout. What's this over-under? 53? Are you kidding me? They think they're just going to run the ball with these two guys all day? 53? That's 25 a team, right? 26, 27 a team? Are you kidding me? That's bananas. Georgia State's defense is good. I don't know if they're good enough. That's wild. Marshall's going to score, guys. Marshall is not going to show up and not score. That's impressive. Think about that one. If you're out there, all you gamblers out there looking at it. ULM versus Texas State. This is on the MVP sheet. I won't talk about it, but you already know the deal. Texas State looking great. Let's go to the SEC. Georgia at Vandy. This won't be close. Blow them out. Arkansas at Alabama. A lot of people are expecting Arkansas to be competitive in this game. Alabama's looking dominant. They're hitting their stride. They're rolling just fine. And if you ask me, Arkansas, the wheels are falling off. They're not believing in the coaching staff. People are complaining about the offensive coordinator. They're complaining about how they're doing things. The wheels are falling off. A&M needs to win this game on the road at Tennessee. Tennessee obviously needs to win to stay competitive and stay towards the top, but A&M needs it. If A&M loses this game, Jimbo Fisher, we need to talk because Tennessee's offense is not dynamic. Tennessee's offense has not been great, hasn't been hitting on all cylinders like people anticipated, but I think A&M loses this game. Jimbo Fisher, hot seat gets warmer. It gets hotter. We got Florida at South Carolina. I like South Carolina in this game. I think they have a passing attack, but everybody told me, I'm getting DMs about it. Rico, Florida's going to score. Florida's going to do something. I'm like, all right, bro. All right, Florida's going to handle it. What's pretty unique about all this is there's only 5 ranked teams in the entire SEC. That's what's unique about this. You see the 5 ranked teams in the SEC. That's what's most telling about this season. Auburn at LSU. LSU's going to score a ton of points. Ton of points here. And then Missouri at Kentucky. Talk about an over I'm interested in. Talk about an over I'm interested in all day. So impressive. Missouri and Kentucky. That looks like there's going to be some scoring there. Receivers galore. Figure it out. Kentucky might just run the ball, though, and prove me wrong. Those are all the matchups this week between these two conferences. Now I'm going to move to the questions. I know there's not a lot of questions in here today. I know there's not a lot of people online right now. That's okay. We can talk. If you guys got questions, put them in the chat. But that's just life, and I can get moved on with the rest of my day. Black Hulk 1964 just became an MVP. Congratulations, Black Hulk. Make sure you watch the videos I post on the MVP playlist. I'll be cleaning out some of the older videos and making sure there's only relevant ones in there. Shout out to you, Black Hulk. Welcome to the team. Dave in Arizona says, good morning, Rico. Early bird gets the worm. Yeah, been up for a while, man. Been up for a couple hours. Good morning, Rico. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Evan Kramer. Evan Kramer says, does the Sunbelt have the best running backs talent-wise or just statistically? Evan Kramer, talent-wise, there's good running backs in every conference. But the Sunbelt does have really good players, like really good running backs. If you go in here and you go to all conference and you look at the Sunbelt, when I study Sunbelt teams and we look at their running backs, these guys, these top 6 here, Kamani Vidal is a stud and a half, obviously one of the nation's leading rushers, if not the. Ishmael Mahdi, I know he went from FCS to Texas State. Mess around. Give this man about another year. If he dominates all season, I don't know if he stays at Texas State. He might find himself in the Power 5. That's how good he is. He's so fast. Nate Noel, a known commodity in the running back world, been dominating. Marcus Carroll gets it done. Doesn't look NFL to me, but gets it done at the collegiate level. Love Marcus Carroll. Rasheen Ali, NFL all day. Dominant running back. Love everything he does. LaDainian Webb, former Florida State running back, went the JUCO route, came back up to South Alabama. He's a stud. Frank Gore Jr., you know how good he is. Jacob Kabadi doesn't really stick out the same way all these other guys do for me. Okay? Now they're telling me 8 yards. 8 yards a carry. 51 carry. They're telling me he's that guy. He's the next future guy. I got to sit down and really study this man's journey. I really do. I probably owe him a video. But as of right now, he's not the same caliber as these other guys for me. All right? But, yeah, when you start looking at running backs in this conference, I'm telling you, I know these dudes. O.J. Arnold, Jalen White, Isaiah Woolard. That's a Ole Miss transfer. Okay? I know now these are most quarterbacks. Hey, Jalen Rayner's one hell of a running back. All right, that's a running quarterback. He's a stud, man. Malik Hornsby, hardly a quarterback. Incredibly fast. It's a wide receiver if you ask me. All right, you just look around, though. There's guys on these benches that can really play. Some of these guys down here are going to be stars someday, and I go study all of them on any given day, right, in the offseason. But right now, yeah, Sunbelt running backs, they're not to be played with. They're just as good as anybody else. But there's also third and fourth stringers on certain teams that are probably comparable. Probably. Not quite. Like, there's guys who think the third best running back at Georgia is better than all these guys, and he's not. Yep. You could go get whoever it is, Branson, Rand, whoever you want to get. He couldn't do what these guys are doing at this level, I promise you. I've studied it. Talent-wise, these guys could start anywhere. They're that good. It's impressive how good they are. And Rasheen Ali, this guy's about to do another 20-touchdown season. That's real. Great question, Evan. Thank you, man. Who knew Mitch McConnell's son was such a great quarterback? Sultan of SWAT is talking about last night. McConnell, the quarterback for UTEP, third and fourth string, comes off the bench and out of nowhere throws those 3 touchdowns. It turns out he's not that good. Turns out he started playing terrible towards the end of the game. He's so bad, I'm not making a video about him. I'm not impressed, but shout out to you, Sultan of SWAT. And Mitch McConnell, if you don't know, is a politician. Lord Bandy says, good morning, Rico. Where do you see LSU finishing this season, and can they get their defense turned around? Do they need to make a change within the staff or scheme? So it's the middle of the season, Lord Bandy. You can't really make a change within your staff in the middle of the season. That's absurd. You're not going to go and fire somebody or demote and promote somebody. That's not happening. I've never seen that go to be successful. Right? You can fire a guy mid-season because he's not any good. That's fine. Whoever you replace him with doesn't change anything. They're still bad. It's still the players aren't there. It's still not getting it done. Like right now, USC's defense, they're missing tackles. Somebody said they got 45 missed tackles, 5th most in America. There ain't nothing you can do about it. You go do some tackling drills, but you can't really change the culture of your program mid-season. You can't. It's off-season. And LSU, they went the free agency route when it comes to off-season. They tried to piece together and Frankenstein a defense because they missed in recruiting and because they lost certain players in the transfer portal. They had other linebackers. They had other defensive linemen. But instead, they tried to address all those needs with the transfer portal. And the guys they brought in, they didn't develop them properly. They didn't get it done. I think a lot of guys they brought in got NIL money and sat back and said, I got paid. I'm good. That's how I feel. When I assess LSU's defense, I don't see a lot of hungry guys. I don't see a lot of capable guys. I don't see a lot of Sunday football players. The more pros you have, the better. I don't see a lot of pros on that defense. They just look bad. It's not just bad coaching. It's bad performance. I watch the film, and I just say, what was that specific linebacker or DB thinking? Like, I just don't get it. They're easily distracted. And I say easily distracted. Jumping routes they shouldn't be jumping. Somebody's running a drag in front of you. You're a free safety. You jump it. Now the post comes and hits behind you. You don't know how to split the difference between two seams, so you can't break on a ball. Their alignments are off. The ball's on the hash, and for whatever reason, they're not using sidelines to defend. They're just doing a lot of things wrong. It looks frustrating. It's fundamental errors, but it's also like systemic issues. You can tell it's ingrained in them, the muscle memory, to just be okay. They're just kind of running around. I watched the guy in man coverage take a peek back at the quarterback because he thought it's just a good time to look back right now. That's not fundamentally correct. Either wait for a ball call, read your receiver's hands, look for his eyes, do something. You don't just turn around just to see what the hell's going on behind you. It's like at the concert. It's like at a concert. You guys ever been at a concert? When the security guards are only staring at the crowd and not looking at the performance on the field, on the stage? That guy's just staring at the crowd because he's doing his job. A lot of LSU defenders don't do their job. They don't focus on their responsibilities and what they're responsible for. In the Army, we call it sectors of fire. We need you to maintain your sector of fire, your left and right limit of the perimeter. And as long as you do that portion of the perimeter and you watch those sectors of fire, you can trust that your battle buddies are watching theirs. So if you hear somebody shooting, you don't need to turn around and look at it. Somebody else is handling that. It's not your responsibility. Well, at LSU's defense, they don't maintain their sectors of fire. They don't maintain their responsibilities. They just get caught looking in the backfield. They bite on play action. They ignore eligible receivers in their box or zone. It'll be nuts. Dude's like, yo, I got this zone right here. I'm covering the flats. But there's a dude in your zone. Get on his hip. That's what we do. And if somebody's leaving your zone, get hands on him, reroute him. That's what you should be doing. There's fundamental things that they should be doing with their position coaches. And I'm not saying it's not happening. It's just not being reflected on the field. And when your players are not a reflection of you and an extension of you as a coaching staff, that's the end result. It's just substandard play on the field. Those players are not doing either what they're coached or they're not being coached what to do. And it looks terrible. I'm being real. LSU's defense is giving up like 50 points a game. Sometimes 40 points. You don't go into an LSU game fearing their defense at all. You're like, all right, some fast guys out here. Let's go do our thing. That's weird. Especially with a guy like Perkins out there. Like, this is weird. It's the reality of the situation. Cool. Oh, Cello. What up, Cello? Good to see you, man. Top of the morning. Evan Kramer says, what have you thought about true freshman tight end Cameron Johnson at Vanderbilt? He already had a couple of touchdowns on the year. Played with him in high school. Evan Kramer. I didn't know that. When I watch Vanderbilt tape, he doesn't stick out to me. I've intentionally watched for him because I like to keep track of, everybody. And when I watch, I don't see anything too dominant, too special. Nothing that made me go, hey, double take and make a video about a freshman contributing. Nothing. That's just how I am. I pay attention, but I watch it and I go, okay. So, yeah, I'll keep an eye out for him, man. Thanks for the name. Thanks for the reminder. I'll definitely do that. Who has the best chance to not finish at the bottom of the SEC? Who has the best chance to not finish at the bottom of the SEC? Out of Arkansas, Auburn, Mississippi State, and Vandy. Definitely Arkansas. They have the pieces to win games out of those four teams. Arkansas and Auburn, to me, look very, very game most weeks. They also have the best coaches, best coaching staff. Now, Auburn does out of those four. Mississippi State, having a new head coach and a new offensive scheme, and people just aren't believing in it. It's not getting it done. It's looking bad, man. It's looking bad. They're so grateful they pulled out that win against Arizona earlier in the year because they shouldn't have won that game, and they won it. But it's looking bad. Now, Vandy and Frank Leah, nobody expects anything of them. So I'm not going to say they can pull out of dead last. But there's a team you should have put on here that probably deserves to be on this list, and that's Florida, bro. I don't think Florida can score ever. But, yeah, I think out of all those, Arkansas has the best fighting chance, salt in a swat for sure. Do you think Grayson McCall can rebound and win Sunbelt Player of the Year? Well, we're in the Sunbelt right now. I don't see how he beats Kamani Vidal right now with his rushing yards. If we're looking at passing, TJ Finley is lights out. 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That looks like a Sunbelt Player of the Year. There's no comparison what Grayson McCall is doing. I mean, it can be done, but I'm looking at guys like Gunnar Watson's numbers, Davis Brin, TJ Finley. Those three really stick out to me. Even Darren Granger sticks out more than the others. So for Offensive Player of the Year, Jalen Rayner is going to be the newcomer of the year, freshman of the year, whatever it is. But Offensive Player of the Year, give me your leading rusher for the conference of Kamani Vidal, and really nobody else can. It's Kamani Vidal, Ishmael Mahdi. These two are really good for me. And then on the passing side of the house, TJ Finley, my goodness, holding down the conference. So, no, I don't think Grayson McCall is going to win his 4th Sunbelt Player of the Year award. By the way, guys, he's won 3 in a row. Sultan of SWAT, I hope not. I want Kamani Vidal to get that title this year. There you go. Kamani Vidal might mess around and win a damn, something real the way he's going. I'm just saying. Kentucky and Tennessee should not be ranked. Al Green, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Kentucky's ranking is a fallacy. It's complete and utter bullshit. They literally have done nothing that warrants their ranking. If you look at Kentucky as a team and what they've done this year, their schedule, beating Ball State, so what? You gave up 14 points to a terrible Ball State team. East Kentucky, you win. Barely. You were losing at one point. Akron, who cares? Vandy gave up 28. Not impressed. The Florida win looks so impressive because of their ranking. There's nothing impressive about it, man. And then your loss was gross. I can see Kentucky going out there and only winning, one more game? I can see them losing to Missouri, Tennessee, Alabama, South Carolina, Louisville. I can see them losing all those games. Kentucky could go out there and win 2 more games or 1 more. Doesn't matter. They're going to go to a bowl because this is the recipe to go to a bowl. Don't play 9 conference games. Just play 8. They're going to go to a bowl. They're 5-1. It's garbage, but they're going to go. Absurd. Yeah, Kentucky doesn't impress me. And then Tennessee shouldn't be ranked. Yeah, no shit. Watch them get blown out by Florida. And I just don't believe in what they're doing. But maybe these 40-point games they keep putting up are a sign of their offense. Maybe. They still got UConn to go blow out and Vandy to blow out. So they're going to get 2 more wins. Guess what that means? They only need 1 more. They're going to get those 2. They need 1 more because this Austin P one doesn't count. And they'll have 6 wins. They'll be bowling. The recipe to go bowling. Play teams like UTSA. UConn. This is what you do in the SEC. And you'll be ranked, though? Ranked? That's wild. That's wild. They're ranked because of this shit? It's a crime. I'm with you. I don't like it. I know this isn't a college football question, but since it's a Southeast day, we're in Southeast, do you have any thoughts on Buford versus Mill Creek game? Mr. Mike and Ike, everybody, he's asking about Buford and Mill Creek. These are 2 of the best high school football teams in America. They play in 7A in Georgia. Last year, Mill Creek won the state title, but it's kind of misleading because Buford is the best team in Georgia year in and year out, season after season, and Buford beat Mill Creek in the regular season. These are loaded teams, studs everywhere, and Buford beat Mill Creek in the regular season. Then in the playoffs, Buford lost to Walton in the second round, freak accident, and Mill Creek then never had to play Buford again, and Mill Creek ran the table on everybody. Now, Mill Creek's a stud team. I like everything they're doing. I want them to win the game. Just out of sheer chaos, I want Mill Creek to win the game. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I really want them to. That's the truth. I don't like the efficiency of Buford's offense. It looks terrible. They got all these studs, all these great players. Dylan Raiola just transferred in, but they got no continuity. They haven't been playing together for 4 years. They don't all know each other from middle school and high school. They just met this year. Like, that's how I feel about a lot of the players. Now, a lot of Buford players are in my DMs. They do reach out to me. I can talk to that team any day of the week if I want to. The Mill Creek kids don't really follow. I don't notice them in my inbox, but the Buford kids are like superstars. They're ready to be college superstars. They want NIL deals. So it's a showdown. I always pull for the underdog most of the time. So give me Mill Creek to go in there and get it done, Mr. Mike. And I thank you for the great question, the local question. I appreciate it. Salt and SWAT says, it was announced Malik Hornsby was getting reps at running back this week. He wouldn't make that move at Arkansas. What is his game missing to be a good dual threat quarterback? So Salt and SWAT, if you guys don't know, Malik Hornsby in high school was a phenomenal track star. This is a 4.3, 4.2, 40 guy. He's blazing fast. One of the fastest people on any team he's on. Went to Fort Marshall, played out of is it Fort Marshall? Am I saying it right? I hope I'm saying it right. The Texas school. His relay team was loaded. I think he played with Devin A-Chain. Or he ran with Devin A-Chain. Anyways, these guys were so fast. And he went to Arkansas, and he's a dual threat quarterback, or so he says. But when you watch him, he's a little slim, and you go, man, this guy is so explosive and athletic, and he can't really throw right. He's not accurate. He'd make a hell of a receiver. He'd make a great slot receiver. And for whatever reason, he refuses. So Arkansas wanted to move him to receiver. He said, nope. Jumped in the transfer portal. Now, G.J. Kinney picked him up and said, yo, we'll take you. We'll make you a quarterback. So, because we don't get a talent like you at Texas State. We'll take you. So they took Malik Hornsby in the winter, and they let him run quarterback all spring. Spring football gets done. They look around at each other, and they go, this guy is not what we're looking for. Not quite there. Now, remember, this is a coaching staff at Incarnate Word. They have dual threat quarterbacks. They had stud quarterbacks last year. They know what to do with these guys. And they said, nah, he's not quite doing it. So they go hit the transfer portal, and they sign Finley. And once they sign Finley out of Auburn, right, a 6'7", 250-pound statue who can just go out there and lace it, that was the writing on the wall for Malik Hornsby. You are not going to be our quarterback. We just saw you all spring, and we're still going and getting somebody else. So Hornsby, at first, just goes, yeah, I'm going to stay at quarterback and see if I can be competitive. And, it's a still quarterback battle come fall. But I told everybody, no, it's not. You don't go sign a quarterback after spring football to come be your backup to a guy you just signed. You just don't do that. You went and found your starter after spring football. And Malik Hornsby has not started, right? He's been struggling to see the field. But once he saw the success of receivers like Drew Donnelly, Hobart, you see the speed of Mahdi going off. You're sitting on the bench and you're going, man, I'm just as fast and just as skilled as all these other guys. I want to see the ball. I want to get the ball in my hands. Let me prove myself. And that's exactly what Malik Hornsby's trying to do. And G.J. Kinney couldn't be happier for it. Now, does the kid then transfer to a bigger school just to be a skill player at one of the bigger schools? Because it's just unfortunate that these kids get bad advice, whether it be from family members, friends, trainers, whoever, somebody telling them, oh, you could still play quarter. You could still do this. Nah, bro, you got to be realistic about who you are and what you are. There's a lot of great NFL wide receivers and running backs who played high school quarterback. There's a ton of them. You were the best player at your high school. There's a ton of guys who played high school quarterback. And there's some who played college quarterback. And they switch. It's unreal. What have you thought of Damian Taylor? He's been getting more carries as the season progresses. Evan Kramer, great question. Haven't really been too concerned with it. I like when guys get more playing time. Shout out to Taylor. But not really much. Doesn't really cross my mind all that much. Just keeping it real. Jaden Daniels has improved drastically this year. If LSU did not have him, they may be 1-5. Al Green, I think he's just as good as he's always been. I like Jaden Daniels. I think he's playing well. I think he's carrying the team on his back when the defense won't. And yes, they may as well be 1-5. Their defense is a 1-5 defense. Their defense is as good as 1-5 teams. That's reality. They look bad. So just something to think about. Dev So Cool retracted. Okay, it's cool, brother. Thank you for being here. Rico, how do you think the SEC would change if divisions were removed from the conference? Mr. Eichenlike, I'd still want to know who they're going to play, because these guys are sitting out here playing 8 conference games. They said they're gonna do it next year. 9 conference games. But wouldn't it be nice to see Bama and Georgia play in the regular season? Because I see it in every other conference. I see the perennial powers playing in every other conference. I see Ohio State and Michigan having to play. Somebody's forced to lose. I see USC and Oregon, Washington and Oregon. Somebody's forced to lose. But in the SEC, Bama and Georgia, they don't play each other until the conference championship game. They've played each other like 3 times in the last 12 years. And Georgia's played Texas A&M once since they joined the conference. 2014, bro. 9 years? You got a team in your conference you've only played once in 9 years? That should be a crime. It should be a crime. They're doing it on purpose, trying to ensure a team dodges another. It's unfortunate. I think it would change. I think they would have more losses, obviously. But they don't want to have a 2-loss champion. It's them protecting their brand. They have a 2-loss champion. Now they have to fight for a playoff spot. They would much rather have a 1-loss champion or an undefeated team and make it to the playoffs. This is what they do. They manipulate win-loss records, strength of schedule records, and make you think they're playing, we're playing another Power 5 team. We're playing another Power 5 team. We're playing Texas. We're playing so-and-so. Yeah, I know, bro. But what you're not doing is you're not playing the guy in your conference, so we don't even know who's really better, and we make sure that neither one of you get a loss. Right? Bama's playing Texas. Oh, look, Rico, Bama's playing Texas. Okay. Yeah, you got to respect it. Texas A&M's playing Miami. They're scheduling hard teams. You know who they're not scheduling? Each other. Because A&M's not playing Georgia. And Bama's not playing Georgia. They'd rather go play an out-of-conference opponent with a chance to win and keep their conference winning than to play each other. You get rid of the divisions. Now there's more free flow. Now give me a schedule that rotates periodically. Just put them all on the list, bro. Who didn't you play last year? You're playing them this year. Who didn't you play last? You're playing them this year. Give me your usual opponents. You're playing them this year. You want 2 rivalry games? Got it. And then we're just going to take the rest of the teams. You'll play these guys this year, and we'll just keep rotating like that every single year. We don't miss anybody. They dare not do that. The Big Ten's doing it. The SEC would never. Too many losses. You think NIL brought more cons than pros? Dev So Cool, I really can't go there. I want to tell you that NIL is not the issue at all. NIL is not an issue at all. Okay? It is collectives that are the issue. Don't confuse the two. NIL, name, image, and likeness. You are a popular player. You can go get a sponsorship deal or get paid because you are a popular player, accomplished player. We see you on the field. We know who you are. You're a household name. That's NIL. Collectives is boosters putting all their money in a pot and paying players who you've never heard of, who've never earned a dime, who aren't worth it, never done anything for your team, and the collectives are the problem. They're the ones paying the players and promising all these things. You're not getting a Beats by Dre NIL deal coming out of high school. That's not what's happening. You're getting a collective payout from a stack of boosters. Remember, the collective is not the university. Everybody always thinks these universities are paying you. It's not the universities. It's a different company. The collective is the booster club. It's a different company. Yeah, they're closely related to the school, and they pay. It's criminal. And I say it's criminal because the FBI had to crack down on collectives already. They were trying to say there were nonprofit organizations making donations to student athletes. All these rich people were money laundering. They were figuring out a way to just put all their money in the collective, send millions of dollars there, and it wouldn't count as their income. Non-taxable income. Dude, you're not donating shit, bro. There is no public interest. It's private interest. And when you do things and you make donations and you do a nonprofit organization, a charitable organization, the biggest thing is it has to have public interest. Meaning, it has to benefit the public. So when you donate money to the food shelter, donate money to Red Cross or the Salvation Army, you donate money to any organization like that, that benefits the general public because it helps homeless people get off the street, because it helps somebody pay their bills, because it helps furnish something, helps feed people, helps do all these different. That is general public benefit. When you give $1 million to a collective, those payments go to a student athlete far beyond what that student athlete needs to pay their bills, far beyond what that student athlete needs to maintain their standard of living. That is not public benefit. That is very private. And that is why the FBI cracked down on collectives. Collectives are the thing that's wrong with college football. NIL has done nothing. Don't confuse the two. They're put under the same umbrella, and it's all called NIL, name, image, and likeness. But the reality is underneath it was this devious plan to pay players with a collective. And that is, like I said, it's criminal, and it's gross. NIL, more power to you. You go out there on the field, you score 5 touchdowns, they want to put you on a box of Wheaties, let's go. But if you come out of high school and you go, my price is $50K a year, now you're holding everybody hostage, seeing who's going to pay you. And then a guy said, well, I got $300K for you. Oh, I'm on it. Oh, I'm getting a Rolex and a this and a that. That is collectives. Understand the difference. NIL's fine. Now, what are the cons? The cons are that you're getting players getting paid without doing anything. And the pros are, at least we know up front who's paying more than others. At least we know up front who can raise more money than. When you hear them say, we're raising money, we're doing fundraisers, we're raising money for our recruiting budget. Yeah, bro. Like, oh, I don't know if you know this, Dev's so cool, but if you're an alumni, you get these letters in the mail that tell you to donate money to your school. You can do the same thing for collectives. Every school has a collective website. Every school. Even the ones who don't want it. Even the coaches who say negative things about it. Like, oh, we're not paying all that. We're not doing that. Even Coach Prime and them boys, there's a Bust for Life collective out there. And you as a fan can donate to it. And you can become a platinum, gold, silver member and get a free cup and a mug, but you're giving out an insane amount of money. And let's just say all the fan base gives out their money. Then there's alumni. You get these letters in the mail, and you got to donate. That's how you get better. Who brought it up recently? Kentucky brought it up. Stoops brought it up this week, right? Stoops just brought it up. Mike Stoops. Donate more. Mike Stoops urges fans to donate more to help Kentucky. This was 2 days ago. A lot of people are upset with this quote from Mark Stoops. Why? I said Mike, my bad. Mark Stoops said, fans have the right to complain. I give it to them. I just encourage them to donate more because that's what those dudes are doing. I can promise you, Georgia, they bought some pretty good players. You're allowed to these days. We could use some help. Think about that. He's saying, my players suck. My players could be better. If you guys gave us more money, we could get the players Georgia's getting. Not only is he implying that Georgia paid for the players, but he's saying he needs more money to pay for his players. That's the reality, man. People are in denial about it. I'm not. It is what it is. But Mark Stoops did not just ask for more NIL deals. He straight said you guys could donate more, and those donations can go towards our recruiting budget. Those donations can go towards our collective and pay the players more. And we'll win those recruiting battles against Georgia. That's wild. That's wild. Makes you wonder how Tommy Durage went from I'm going to go to Colorado, and then he flips and says I'm going to Kentucky. Well, how much NIL did Colorado offer versus Kentucky? Because the playing time was there. Colorado really needed him. They need him right now. He's leading Kentucky in sacks. This was a transfer. I meant West Virginia. My bad. He just left Kentucky. This is a transfer. It's insane. So, yeah, that's how I feel about it. It's a new world. Welcome to it. Saying all that, Rico, and LSU will beat Bama. Hey, Al Green. LSU's got an offense that can keep pace. They're going to score points. They're going to score points. I hope they're well coached because Bama is. Kobe to God says, hey, Rico, do you know Davron Rayner, linebacker, Kentucky, transfer from NIU? I know every single transfer in America. Every transfer in America. No, every single one of them. So, yes, I know Davron Rayner. He's my brother. Curious on your thoughts if you know him. Oh, yeah. I probably made a video talking about him this offseason. Do a hashtag Kentucky, hashtag Rico Knows on TikTok and go look for it and try to find the video. I probably made it. Rico Knows ball. Shout out to Andrew. I try my best, man. Which team do you think has the better team to compete in the college football playoff, Georgia or Alabama? Definitely Georgia. Georgia's better than Alabama, and they can compete in the playoffs. They're probably one of the favorites. Georgia's better than Bama. We'll see. Refreshing to hear people who played football talking about it. Meanwhile, pimple-faced kids who never played talk. My bad. Chat just jumped on me. Talk like they know the most. You know why, Andrew? You don't have to have played football to know the most, but what's important to understand is you need to have a frame of reference. You need to know what you're talking about, right? You need to have experienced it on some level. But more importantly, those pimple-faced kids that are talking sports, once they're enabled and once they're told that they're valid, there's nothing more offensive than an arrogant nerd. Like an entitled nerd is worse than a high school jock, right? I know this. I'm a cyber expert. So I grew up a high school jock. I grew up an athlete my entire life. I joined the military. I became an all-Army fighter. I became this very athletic person in the Army. The whole time I'm military intelligence. The whole time I'm an electronic engineer. The whole time I'm a cyber expert. And the worst people I've ever come across are the arrogant nerd. Yep. Oh, you didn't know the derivative of that operating system? You didn't know the protocol was going to be out of system? Shut up. Relax, bro. They just sit there empowered and pompous because they've never been in charge of anything in their life. No one's ever valued them. But there are different powers, and one of those powers is knowledge. And they feel like they have the knowledge, so they go and they feel empowered. But it doesn't change the fact that once they get out of that realm, once they get off that podium, once they get away from that microphone or away from that camera, they're still that socially awkward person who doesn't have a significant other. They're still insecure about their own self, inside and out. They'll pretend like they're not because somebody on TikTok or YouTube told them, hey, you're important. Don't worry, you're important. Do what you want to do. No, you're not, bro. You're insignificant. You are, what's the word? Not just substandard, but it doesn't matter what you do in life. Like if somebody's better than you, they can just show up and take your spot. They can take your spot. I don't care what you've been doing. If I decide to do that, I'm better than you now. That's the reality of life. It's the reality of life. There's a realtor. I'm sure they keep calling me nonstop. There's a realtor calling me right now. And they've been a realtor their whole life. If I decide to be a realtor tomorrow and go and pursue and get my real estate license, and then I become a realtor, I'm immediately better than that realtor. That's life. because I'm better than whoever the hell that person is 24/7. That's the mindset. That's the understanding that we're not all equal. Some of us are innately better than others. That's a harsh reality of life. And people hate hearing it. And you know what? They don't hate hearing it. They hate hearing it from me. They don't like the message coming from me. Not people who look like me, people built like me. That's the problem. So, a lot of people who think they know sports hate the message coming from somebody who may know the sport but doesn't look like them. So that's the devil's advocate there, right? Some of these little nerds may know a lot about the sport, and if you played, you didn't retain as much. That's possible. But I'm just saying, it's not the case. It's not the case all the time. I don't need to hear former athletes talking about sports for me to validate or feel validated. You don't know how many times I've made a post or a video and somebody says, "Oh, Rico, I totally agree with you. Oh, my God, Steve Smith said the same thing. You're so on it, man. Steve Smith said the same." I look back, I sit down, and I go, why do I give a shit what Steve Smith is saying? What makes his opinion any more valid than mine? Oh, well, he played for 10 years. I'm like, yeah, bro. He went and played football. He went and played football for 10 years. That doesn't mean he can analyze anything. That doesn't mean he can assess anything. That means he played football. Trust, bro. Trust. I use computers all day. I'm a cyber expert. That doesn't mean that I'm going to go out there and start critiquing the engineers and the programmers for the newest software or the newest hardware. But I used it all. I used it for the last 20. That doesn't mean I'm the guy in the room engineering it. No. Right? Been a mechanic your whole life doesn't mean you can build a car. It means you repair them. Cool. But you don't get to go around and say, "Well, this car sucks. This one's great." How about we ask people who build cars or people who assess cars being built? It's a whole different profession. That's all I'm saying. It's the analogies can go on for days. But I would say teachers teach out of textbooks. It doesn't mean they're always the best ones to write a textbook. Right? They follow a curriculum. They're not always the best at creating the curriculum. Programs of instruction, they're not built for POI. I'm just saying. Refreshing to hear it. I appreciate you, though, Andrew. I appreciate you. Hornsby elevated Harold Perkins to superstar status after he single-handedly destroyed Hornsby all game. Right, Al Green, right. You saw him destroy a non-quarterback all game. And Harold Perkins then goes into folklore. But where's Harold Perkins today? Where's his amazing feats today? It's just you dominated a substandard opponent. I've seen it in basketball. I've seen it in sports. You get a corner across from you. He's 5'8". You're 6'3". You dominate him all day, and now everybody goes, "That receiver's amazing." Is he? Or was that matchup really bad? Think about JSN. JSN as a wide receiver at Ohio State. His biggest game ever in the Rose Bowl. 300 yards. Some absurd amount of yards in the Rose Bowl against Utah. And everybody goes, "Man, JSN, that's the best receiver in college football. I saw him go for X amount of yards at the Rose Bowl. Oh, my God, he's so amazing." And then you come to find out, who was the corner? It was a backup running back, Micah Bernard, number 2, playing corner for that one game due to injuries. So this guy just roasted a corner that was a backup running back at Utah. Not even a corner, not even a DB. They had to find somebody else, and they went and picked this guy. And then that's who he beat. And then he didn't play again. He didn't play the next year. He sat out all year, and he's a first-round draft pick, and you're all convinced he's the greatest thing ever. And all it was one game where he dominated for 300 yards against a backup running back. Go watch the tape. And this is why when they said, "Rico, why is he not in your top 10?" I said, "Oh, no, he's not it, man. Tank Dell's my receiver." I like Tank Dell. Why? Well, because he lined up and beat everybody. Every game JSN played, he played against the third best corner. What are you talking about? Well, there was another receiver out here in Olave. There was another receiver out here. And in the slot was JSN against the third best corner on every team. So any yards he got was against the third best corner on every college football team. And by the way, not every college football team has 3 corners that are NFL caliber. The best corner is out here on the outside on Garrett Wilson. The second best corner is out here on Olave. And the third best corner is on this dude in the slot. And he's tearing it up against that dude, against a linebacker, against a safety. He's tearing it up on who? And in his big game, he's tearing it up against a backup running back. And never played again. And now he's on the Seahawks, and I ain't heard shit. Looks like I was right. It's about matchups. I wish people studied the game. Al Green says, I saw some terrified jackass on Twitter this morning saying he is going to create a transfer portal tracker for people to follow. I guess everyone is watching Rico. You saw a verified jackass? That's cool. I don't even mess with Twitter. He's just going to watch my videos. That's what he's going to do. Phil Jerkovic is now listed as a tight end. Thoughts, Rico? David Sherman, I posted a video on this last week. This is not an SEC or Sunbelt relevant question, but I posted a video on it last week that Jerkovic is now a tight end. I already made a video about it. Thanks for asking, though. Go watch the video. Find it. Shador is 4-2 with 2,000 passing yards, number 1 in the country, 19 total touchdowns, with the worst O-line in the country. Dre, that is not true. He does not have the worst offensive line in the country. That's absurd. Just shows how skilled and talented Shador is, best quarterback in the nation. All right, Dre, that's not an SEC level question or a Sunbelt level question, but I will address it. Shador Sanders is not the best quarterback in the country. It doesn't show how talented he is. It shows that he plays in an offensive system, in a passing system. That's all it shows. Stats show that you play in a particular system. If I look and I go to all conferences, like you said, Shador Sanders is here. He's the greatest ever. Well, if that's true, if that's how you feel, and we go down this list, there's Nicholas Vitalotti ahead of the Heisman Trophy winner. Does that show that he's better? Nicholas Vitalotti, is he better? Because Caleb Williams out here with 22 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's a lot better than your boy Shador. Shador's in an offense where they're going to throw it 256 times. That's all it is. You're not a lot better. E.J. Warner's not a lot better than a lot of these guys. Look at, down here is Drake May. Drake May's a great quarterback. Here's Jackson Dart. Great quarterbacks. These are just offensive schemes. Offensive schemes. That's all it is. Shador Sanders is in a scheme that is allowing him to throw for passes. As we go down the list, Jalen Raynor's a great quarterback. Riley Leonard's one of the best quarterbacks in America. This is an NFL caliber quarterback. He's 94th. These two could never be on the same field. Gavin Wimsatt could never, ever start over Riley Leonard. He's behind. Stats don't mean anything, man. I'm not saying they don't mean anything. Let me rephrase. Stats are not the indicator of how good you are. They're the end result of your competition. Who have you played against? Where'd you get all your stats? Right? Shador Sanders in blowouts is still in the game. For whatever reason, he's still in the game in blowouts, getting up stats. This does not impress me. The average would impress me. The average would impress me immensely. And look where Shador Sanders is. He's not here. He's down here in 50th place. And this looks about right. He's KJ Jefferson caliber. But when I look up here, these are the guys stretching the field. Well, Cade McConnell doesn't count. That's last night. But Michael Penix Jr., Caleb Williams, Michael Pratt, Jaden Daniels. Look, there's Jalen Rayner, like I told you. Jalen Milroe. Some of these guys can really play some football. It's a little different. And he does not have the worst offensive line in America. That is just propaganda bullshit. That is not true by any means that he has the worst offensive line in America. That is not even remotely true. This happens to tie into the SEC, but it's a broader question. Do you think as a conference trying to push to 20-plus schools, could we see something more similar to NFL football with parity? Salt and a SWAT, yes and no. The thing that makes NFL football have parity is the salary cap, okay? The salary cap and the draft. College football doesn't have either. So if you're terrible in college football, do you get the best player coming out of high school the next year? You do not. The draft enables NFL teams to get the best players if you're bad, right? Because they do that inverse draft. They do the draft, and they make sure that the worst teams are drafting first, theoretically. College football doesn't do that. If you're a bad team, you're a bad team. It all depends on how much money you put in. The only conference that is allowed to be bad and still have good recruiting classes is the SEC. That's why I say it's the easiest conference in America. Because if you win 3 games in the SEC, you still get an amazing recruiting class. Win 3 games in the Big Ten, see what happens. Right? Beat Illinois, win 3 games this year, and see what kind of recruits you get at Illinois with a 3-win schedule. Compared to a 3-win Auburn team or a 3-win Texas A&M team. It's apples and oranges. You're always going to get the best recruits, and it's not regional. It's ESPN. It's ESPN is going to convince the high school kids this is the conference you want to play in. So the parity is never going to be equivalent to the NFL because the draft isn't equivalent to recruiting. And then the longevity part of it, even when you hit somebody, they're leaving you. They're transferring. Right? They're transferring. So I don't like it. I don't think it's possible. Not the way it's built right now. No. And then the salary cap. NFL teams, they all spend the same amount of money on their football teams, theoretically, within 6%. They all spend the same amount. They all have the same revenue. And you guys don't know, I don't know if anybody knows this, who doesn't know this, but the NFL salary cap is predetermined by the revenue. NFL players get 48.5% of the revenue of the league. Owners get 52.5% or 51.5%. So it's not even, you can't even get more money from the owners. There's no such thing. So NFL teams spend the same amount of money on each team. If you don't spend all your money on your salary cap, it rolls over to the next year. There are some stipulations. I don't want to get into all the details, but the point is, in college football, there is no way Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, there's no way these teams are spending the same amount of money on football as Georgia and Alabama. They're not. They're not spending the same amount of money on their coach. They're not spending on their position coaches, their coordinators. They're not spending the same amount of money on recruiting, NIL. It's not equivalent. That's why there's not NFL level parity. It's not equivalent. How are we doing, Rico? Still can't believe what happened in the FIU game yesterday. Ridiculous. Yeah, Andres, this kid, Cade McConnell, comes off the bench. 4th string quarterback. You see it here, guys. Never in his life has he done anything worth talking about. And out of nowhere, Cade McConnell last night played amazing. We're talking about a kid who's never started a game, and he goes out there and does this shit. Now, he didn't play he was 10 for 10 to start the game. 10 for 10, and then he went 1 for 7 the rest of the way. But the 2 touchdowns, the damage was already done. But before that, he'd never done anything. This is a JUCO kid. Says he's a sophomore from Los Al. He's a JUCO kid. Never seen him do anything of the sort. I said 36%? This guy's starting the game? Get out of here, bro. Unreal. Thanks for taking my questions, Rico. I initially came from TikTok from your Georgia high school football recaps. Oh, shout out to you, Mr. Mike and Ike. I grew up in Georgia, and you have definitely opened my eyes about how the SEC operates. Yeah, man, it's the reality of the situation. It's the reality of the situation. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for coming over from TikTok. It's not awesome. Dang, nobody have jobs. What you mean, Devin? People up in here? College sounds like a scam. It's necessary. College is necessary. I know someone personally that's committed to Miami right now over Alabama because Miami is paying him more money. Evan Kramer. This is a fact. Players are doing it. Any adult paying anyone for work that has not been completed is insane. NIL won't help your team win. Good coaching will. So that's not true, Al Green. NIL will help you win. Good coaching will never bridge that gap. Good coaching will not bridge the gap. If you have talented players, you're going to win the game more than the team that doesn't have talented players. In college football, it's very evident. That's why there's so many blowouts in college football playoffs. That's why there's blowouts in bowl games sometimes. It doesn't matter how good your coach is. You can't bridge the gap. Chris Kleiman, hell of a coach. Got blown out by Alabama last year in the bowl game, despite doing the most with K-State last year. Right? TCU, Sonny Dykes. Got in that championship game. Did not line up and did not match up well with talented players from Georgia. Talent will win out 100%, like 90%. Coaching matters when the talent's equivalent. So I hear you. I want to tell you coaching matters. It does. It really helps in the offseason with development, strength and conditioning, and things like that. But outside of that, man, what are we doing? Yeah. Is this the new time for live? I'm a fan. I can work and listen in. Jefferson still flex. This is the time for live when I have something going on in the evening. Tonight I have actually an overnight doctor's appointment. They're doing an assessment on my sleeping habits. So I have to, give me a second here. Oh, that's muted. I need to just turn this down. Commercial started playing. Give me a second. I don't want a copyright violation. So yeah, I have an overnight hospital thing going on tonight where they need to like observe me while I sleep. So I'll be doing a sleep study this evening. I will not be on live. I will not be able to live stream the game for you guys. Apologize. But that's why I'm doing this morning. Hey, Rico, how do you feel about Southern Miss? They have some close losses this year and a good schedule, but they have to win out in conference to make a bowl game. I'm a fan of their super package. Okay. So I think Southern Miss leaves a lot to be desired as a team. They played well in a game recently. It looks like they're always competitive in their games, but they're not. They're getting blown out, and then they make comebacks in the second half. Southern Miss just is not going to ever get there, really. It's unfortunate. The base of a lot of these Mississippi players, they don't ever really equate to anything too good. Like when I see a Mississippi kid put up a ton of yards, Gatorade National Player of the Year, all that stuff, and then he starts and he signs with Southern Miss, it just doesn't turn out all right. Right? Shout out to Trey Lowe, some of these other guys. They just don't get it done. They just don't get it done. Southern Miss leaves a lot to be desired. It's unfortunate. And every team around them just seems a little bit better than them. Yeah, they're comparable to ULM. They really are. But I think they're in the bottom quadrant of group of 5 teams, FBS level teams. Yeah, I think they can be beaten by some FCS teams. Just being real. Rico knows football. He could be an NFL agent. NFL agents talk to me a lot in my DMs. NFL agents talk to me in my DMs. I believe they're attorneys though, for the most part. I think I can do anything. Let me just make that clear. I think I can do anything. So shout out to you. Thank you for the belief there, all things Purnell. Hey, Devin and the Real G's are making money while listening to Rico. There it is, working and listening. Have a good one, Rico. Thank you, Salt and a SWAT. Mr. Mike and Ike says, the Sunbelt East is very competitive this year. I think the Sunbelt East has better teams overall than the West this year, but I'm excited to watch the Sunbelt Championship. Hopefully Troy versus Texas State, Marshall. It seems like 2 very believable teams. Obviously JMU can't play in the conference championship, but that's how I feel. Texas State and Marshall move the needle for me. They better get through those teams first before we get Troy in the championship. Right? I'm just saying. There's other good teams in the Sun Belt for sure. I love South Alabama as well. And Troy already beat them. But, yeah, I'm with you. Good luck to Troy. Hope they do it. Hey, guys, thanks for being here today. I know it was an early show. I know it was quick and easy, painless. You guys have a blessed day. I got to go make a new video for the MVPs. My last one was, like, crazy. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Don't be talking sports with anybody else. Peace.
For my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean, no longer a fan. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you. I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do